This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where, yes, business owners share their wisdom. It's short and to the point to respect people's time. And because we know transforming possibility happens really fast and it leads to lasting results. So, look, enough of that. You've been listening and watching. You already know that. So let's get to it. We have a special guest today, Robert. In a few sentences, would you be willing to share who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Robert Toll. I'm a business consultant. Came out of an environment of doing more corporate finance and corporate information technology work. Became a consultant about 9 years ago, and have gotten the opportunity to work with small businesses, entrepreneurs around the world, locally, but also big corporations in far reaches. I was known for going wherever I was needed to go. So I ended up in places like Sri Lanka or Colombia or Poland to help set things up in all sorts of areas of the world. And recently wrote a book called Don't Be Dumb, that's based off my business experiences, and to pull together my mistakes that I've made and how people can learn from them, particularly entrepreneurs at different stages of their entrepreneurial journey, and learn from my hand on the hot stove type of experience. So, grateful to be on the call here, Brad.
Love that. And it's interesting. And I find this fascinating, Robert. Through my experiences, now I joke around about being a mistake expert. through my experiences throughout life, I've said oftentimes, like, it's more powerful connecting with someone who's made mistakes and then talking about those mistakes than just general information that we can get pretty much anywhere nowadays, all over the internet. So I find it interesting that you've captured those in a really powerful book, in order to be able to serve people.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience, Brad. It really was, and I was able to interweave some family history tales too, of mistakes that others in my family have made and learned from. And it's even one of my favorite interview questions is asking people about the biggest mistake, because that tells you a lot about somebody.
Well, okay. So you just said that. I would be remiss if I didn't say, what's one of the biggest mistakes you've ever made, Robert?
The list is probably too long for our time here today, Brad. But
Get the book.
I had one. I had one that I called the worst conference call in history, and I made the mistake of using the client's conference call system for the great introduction to hundreds of people around the world after trying to get the client for 4 years. And their conference call system interrupted to announce everybody that joined. 30-minute call, first 10 minutes were beep, beep, beep as people introducing people. 10 minutes that I could talk, and 10 minutes of people leaving early because it was worthless and announcing their departure. And meanwhile, I'm scrambling trying to get my IT person to change the settings, and it wasn't our system and couldn't get it fixed. And I sat there for about 30 seconds, and I was in London with the team and thought, that's it, we're done. They're not even going to pay for us to fly back to the US. It's over. And I had to find a way to solve it, and went down and owned it as a mistake. I wanted to blame somebody else. I could have blamed their system, but instead I owned it and said, here's my recovery plan and how I'm going to make it better. And have another call and a different system and two more calls to cover everything before the word could get back and would get canned as a result of it, and managed to recover, and it turned it into like an 18-month assignment as a result. But I thought it was over, Brad. It was over.
Nice. I'm sure that's a great story in the book. I'm sure the way you share that, there's some, just in that short description, there's some lessons in there, right? Owning your mistakes, not blaming others, standing up to it. So look, every entrepreneur knows, find an opportunity and solve it, right? Solving problems. Yep. There's some problem solving in there. There's some deep stuff rolled up in
absolutely. And you're going to make mistakes. If you're not going to make mistakes, you're not doing anything. So, and I think that's what are you afraid of becomes a concept that, I'm working on right now, is almost a fear quiz to ask entrepreneurs what makes you afraid. because based off their fears, then you can find a way to address those fears.
Love it. I love it. One of my favorite statements that ties right into that. It's just like fail fast, falling forward. Love
Yes,
it.
yes.
I
It's
love what you're
better than
saying.
I made one mistake just as a laugh based off of that. Was myself and a colleague saw these faster, faster till the thrill of speed overcomes the fear of death as a quote. And we decided to put it on like a polo shirt for our staff. And colossal mistake. They became known as the death shirts. They thought we wanted to kill them and work them to death. It was just horrible.
Oh no.
Horrible. We had to burn the shirts. It was just horrible.
This is interesting. I like where this is headed, Robert. This is good stuff. Question number 2. What's the
Yes.
best thing about being in business?
I like being in control of your own destiny. I like being able to drive forward, make the mistakes, pick yourself up. I particularly like helping other people. I love solving problems. I get very bored if I'm doing the same thing day after day. And in business in general, if you have your own, but also in a consulting business, it's you're there to help people fix their problems. And then you fix them and you move on. You don't stay embedded in an organization forever and get bored.
Nice. Would you be willing to repeat that last statement?
The whole thing.
Just the last part of that
Don't you
statement.
just stay embedded and get bored? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That's. I can't stand it. I can't stand the thought of just doing the same thing day after day.
That's great. I love it. I know any entrepreneur who's listening or watching right now is, yeah, that's me. I don't want to be embedded in there forever. Then you just
No.
I mean, it's like going back to corporate.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. No desire.
however, the reason why I asked you if you'd be willing to repeat that is I think, unfortunately, too many of us, I would venture to say, find ourselves in that situation more often than we would want. So I wanted to highlight and showcase what you said because there's actually a valuable lesson in there. Don't get yourself into that kind of situation where you're stuck.
And I've been there before, Brad. I've been there with they tangled a severance package in front of me without a end date for a company. And I was told by recruiters, if they tell you to mop the bathrooms, you can't leave. But it was just one step away from torture to just sit there with nothing to do and just hope nothing broke and be there in case something broke and fix it, and then go back to being bored again. And it was a rotten year of my career. It really was.
That sounds like nails on a chalkboard to me.
It was really rough. I begged at the end. We rode down the organization size where I was from 400 people to I was one of the last 17, and I begged for them to let me go. Please put an end to this.
Wow. So takeaways there for anyone listening, watching. Be really careful not to put yourself in that position. I love it.
Indeed.
Question number 3. This is a fun one, Robert. I know you'll love this with the vast experience that you have. We hear from other business owners. They're getting so much business. Yes, today. So much business that sometimes the chaos causes some feelings of overwhelm. Would you be willing to share your thoughts on that?
Um, I was influenced very early by an author. I believe it's Michael Gerber that wrote a book called the 𝐒.𝐄.𝐲, and then it had a revisited version later. But it was all about putting the org chart for the future state together, even if you have to fill all the roles at the beginning. But think of what hat you're putting on, and then take off the hat and give it to somebody else so you have the roles defined. And I think that's how business owners need to cope with this: is when's the time to staff up, whether it's outsourcing, delegating, finding somebody else to take on different roles and responsibilities. What are you good at versus trying to be everything to everyone? And people fall into that trap, or even the worst, which is go to what you're not good at and ignore what you're good at. And I've seen that one many times. But it's also delegate, not abdicate. Spend the time training the people, have the roles described, have things there, and don't just give it to them and just hope it works. But truly delegate and empower people to solve the problems.
I love that. I love all of that. What stands out to me about is the last portion of what you said. So love Michael Gerber, love his books, foundational work for many, many entrepreneurs, and beyond. Great stuff. I consider it a classic work. Great stuff. And what I really like about what you said is the delegating. Can we dive in that just a little bit more? Because
sure, of course.
I like the way you said that, to delegate and not abdicate. What kind of, can you just, from your perspective, can you speak into that just one notch deeper? Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely. Abdicating is, I mean, I'll start with the inverse of what you shouldn't do. Go do this, get this done. And then the person you gave it to is going, okay, well, I don't know when to do it. I don't know how to do it. I haven't been trained to do it. Where are the tools that I need to do? Do I have the support from the person that gave it to me? I got nothing. I'm just supposed to figure this out. Effective delegation is, when do you need it by? Has the person been trained? Are they clear on when to come to you when they have a problem, that you're there to remove obstacles and roadblocks and help them and support them? And people get the two confused way more than they should, Brad. It's just, they're completely different from each other, polar opposites, but people get confused all the time. I had a boss that always said ASAP to everything. And every time I would have to stop him and say, I have no idea what that means. Is that me dropping everything right this second because it could do it now, but there's 10 other things that won't get done? You've got to give me a time and a date to do the task, or else I can't do anything for you.
Thank you so much for speaking into that, because I imagine you see this all the time too. That's why you're speaking into it. But I too see it all the time. Lack of expectations, no examples, nothing given, no dates, no timeline, just like you said. And then when the person comes back and produces the deliverable based on what they thought was what was needed, then they get cut down. They start to, lose motivation because of that. And that's not that creates toxic environments, doesn't it, Robert?
It
And it's
absolutely
really a
does.
powerful topic.
Well, and if you can get ahead of it a touch, Brad, which is challenging when the chaos erupts in a business, and train people in advance and spend time, then it becomes that much more effective. So whether it's using a tool like Microsoft Excel, I've forgotten a whole lot about the tool, but I know what it can do. In my years of experience, if I can teach people how to use it more effectively, even if right now they don't need to use it that way, it'll help them down the road.
Love it. Thank you so much. That's a powerful topic. So I wanted to go one notch deeper, because I know that somebody's listening and saying, yes, that's me. I've been there. And so what can I do instead? So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Question number 4, Robert. What other successful business owners like yourself, of course, should be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
I can think of a couple offhand, Brad. One is a gentleman named Pierre Redmond, who's ex-military, that founded a consulting firm that's focused on the U.S. government primarily, but open to other engagements. But as a veteran, he has unique experience, has built up a successful practice, and I've known him now for a couple years and has built a good team. I think he'd be an interesting one to have on your show here. And another one is his name is Sean Long, and he has a firm called VI Logics that's an IT outsourcing firm, and brings all sorts of high-end technology to solve business problems, and is actively engaged in clients all over, particularly Eastern U.S. But he has a good perspective, a lot of good experience that he brings to the table.
I love that. Thank you very much. Would love to have both of them on. Yes, go military. And also, honestly, Robert, I don't think I've had anybody on with regard to IT, so that would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Let's get to some wisdom. What do you think?
Sold. If we can find a little bit, sure.
I love that humility. That's nice. You have lots of wisdom. I know it. What piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners, Robert?
One thing that I've found, and I will admit I failed miserably at the first time I rolled out this concept. Another one of those mistakes, and then found a way to make it work, which is something I put in place with teams called Eliminate Stupid, which stands for not a person, but slow, tedious, unproductive, inefficient, and duplicative. And by engaging your teams and saying, here's a stupid sighting report, tell me what you see that doesn't make any sense, and give me your ideas of how you'd solve it. And rewarding them with something very simple like a $5 Starbucks gift card. I'm not getting paid by Starbucks, but something simple like that, a $5 gift card. I've ended up getting like 100 ideas at once from team members that you then can put on the wall, and you can put the red X through them when you eliminate them, and you build the efficiency in your organization. And they're things that your team members see, but they never bring up to you. And by engaging them, you get the wisdom. That's where the wisdom comes from. You get the wisdom of your collective team there. I had somebody that was the lowest person on my team from a level standpoint and experience, brought up just a fantastic idea that saved massive amounts of money, efficiency in her job, efficiency in other people's jobs, and fixed a potential accounting problem for a publicly held company where things could have gone really, really bad with what was happening. And she'd been sitting there doing the same thing for years and never said a word. As soon as I asked about the report, she filled out the stupid sighting report. We were able to knock it out in almost no time flat.
Love that. You're capturing a really powerful topic. The leadership is one perspective. And frankly, I love that perspective. It's great if you're in a leadership position. But I've also been down at the bottom, right? Or bottom or top, or wherever, however you want to position it. It's different for different companies. And you've already spoken to the org chart a little bit. So I've been on the opposite of that side and have had many ideas. And some people have an interest in listening and some people don't. But what I hear you saying is you have a framework for it, which is
absolutely
great. So look, I'm old school. I'm not afraid to admit it. I remember the suggestion bosses that we used to have. You put a little suggestion in there and then you go in there, and frankly, 9 times out of 10, it never went anywhere. And so then people have thought like, well, why did he even do that? But what you're capturing here is people do have ideas. They have the knowledge. They have, you said it, they have the wisdom. And how are we capturing that wisdom? Then how are we implementing it?
Well, when we held ourselves accountable by putting them up on the wall, there was no way you could ignore it, as opposed to a suggestion box. And then celebrating those wins, Brad, really celebrating those in employee meetings and things like that. So there was no missing it, that we were paying attention.
I love that. And would you be willing to say it again? I know what the word is, but would you be able to go through that one more time? Because for somebody listening, or if they're driving in their car or whatnot, that might have been pretty fast for them to capture. It was fast for me.
I was pretty zippy. STUPID stands for slow, tedious, unproductive. Those are the two, U and P, inefficient, and duplicative.
Nice.
And it is not a person. I had human resources get concerned that we were going to start naming people, and I had to make it very clear it is not a person.
Understood. I think the tribe here listening and watching, they understand that. But it's good that you say that. That's good practice in today's world.
Exactly. You can get yourself in trouble.
Indeed. It's good. It's important to frame that up. So thank you very much. And so what you illustrated, so I have this picture in my mind where you have these ideas now and you put them on the board. You put them in a place, in a central location where you can then now cross them off. This one,
with a big, like a big red circle and then a line through it when it's done.
That's great. That's great. I love that idea. When I first read your information, I was like, stupid. What? So the
Yeah,
good
that
thing,
that gets it, it gets your
it captures
attention.
attention.
It does.
Yeah, it
It
captures
does.
attention. So there's
It
some good
does.
marketing in there. Got to give you credit for that. It's fun too. I bet uh, people could have fun around it if they were open,
Oh,
right? If they don't just shut it down
absolutely.
and they're just closed off to the idea. I think you could have a lot of fun around this, and I imagine it's really powerful. What kind of
Well,
results have you seen from this, Robert?
well, I've seen it to the point that this was with a larger company, but we were going through restructurings and
Mhm.
layoffs. We didn't
Mm,
have any in my department. Why didn't we have any in my department? Because we were constantly doing the eliminate the stupid. And so
mm,
we were taking on the work of other people and other departments. And people just didn't want to mess with us because we kept taking on more and more work without requiring any more staffing.
mm. Nice.
So we were doing the work. I mean, I had what the best example I had was the work of 4 people. We took it, I gave it to my one of my best guys and told him, I need you to take on this work. And he's like, but it's 4 people's work. And I said, right. And you've got 30 days, work it down to where you can get it done. Eliminate stupid, do the process. And if a month goes by and you can't solve it, we'll tackle it some other way. Within a
Love
month,
it.
he was doing it solo, no problem. Within 9 months, it was taking up like 2 days of his month. This process that consumed 4 people before full time.
I love that.
And so
What's running?
people didn't want to
What
mess with that.
I love it. That's great results. There. What's running through my mind right now is you're capturing. So I have some exposure to large companies, which I think like similar to what you're describing, right? And so you're capturing some pieces from things that are known, a little more known, that are effective, like Gemba boards and sprints and Scrum and things like that. And you've made it really okay, brace yourself, everybody. Stupid, simple,
Well,
and
I
fun.
think you're right, Brad. And I think part of it I have the advantage in some ways when working in bigger companies in the past. But I also worked at a small bike shop as my first job in Southern Alabama and had to go through the startup process with an entrepreneur. I worked at my grandfather's shoe store and had to look at how he ran it with no technology and just found a way to get it done and be a successful business. So I sort of translated those early jobs into corporate America and sort of cut through some of the nonsense and just make things happen, perhaps a touch more effectively than implementing some major program that would take forever to get off the ground.
Yeah, I love that. That's really what I wanted to highlight. And it's look, there's lots of great programs out there. And, black, you can become a black belt to take this certification and that certification. But when we get something that's really powerful and we make it simple, that's really powerful, and it can be really fun. And
Oh yeah,
so I find this fascinating.
thank you.
It's great. Let's switch gears for a moment, because I believe, I imagine you do too, having been in business for a while now, that we work to live, not live to work. And so I ask this question on every podcast because I don't know about you, but I talk business all the time. And I do love it. But it's nice to talk about something other than business. And many of us entrepreneurs and even not entrepreneurs that who listen, we like to take vacations and enjoy ourselves. So what's the most fun vacation you've ever had, Robert? You've traveled a lot.
I've traveled a lot. I've seen some interesting things. But I actually landed on the most recent, Brad, and we're going through a lot of things with projects and things going on. But my wife and I were able to carve away a long weekend and went down to Blowing Rock, North Carolina, which I'd last visited when I was a child, and she'd never been. And we got to experience it, both the relaxation of staying in a um, older hotel that had been around since the 1800s,
Nice.
seeing Blowing Rock, going to Grandfather Mountain on a swinging bridge, and even the Tweetsy Railroad experience and all that. And I got to see it through her eyes, seeing it for the first time, but also mine for the first time since I was like 7 or 8 years old. and just get a good experience, eat some good food. You know, got to an English. They have an English pub in downtown Blowing Rock that had great English food actually, which was you sort of roll the dice. You don't know quite what you're going to get, but it was great. And we did the ride down on the Blue Ridge Parkway, up and down. So it was a very secluded, nice. It was in May of last year. It's a really nice experience.
That sounds wonderful. It really does. It sounds. I love trips like that. And the Blue Ridge are beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So
we live. My wife calls them her mountains. You know, they're her mountains. Where
now
we
I know
live.
who owns them. I always wondered that.
They're her mountains. Enough to where we're sort of surrounded by them where we live in Southwest Virginia. So it's a nice place to live.
I love it. Robert, I know you are working on a number of things, and you have a number of campaigns. You got a book, you have some cool stuff going on. So before we close here soon, would you be willing to share some of the things that you're working on for the benefit of others? I'd love to hear what you're working on right now.
Absolutely. Well, I've got the book out, which is Don't Be Dumb, and would love to engage with people on that, help people with their businesses, and do that. And I even have a website that's don'tbedumb.expert. I was able to procure that if anybody's interested in going out there and looking at a little bit more about the testimonials and what it brings to the table. But also working right now, it turned from one book into 8 books somehow in the outlines. So I'm not sure. I've got to take them one at a time. That's the only way it works. But working one of just how to start up a business and how to get it to break even in half the time and be effective using different tools from sales, finance, operations tools, how to cut that break even time in half, make yourself get there faster, and how to take it to the next level and sustain itself without the owner having to be there every minute, 24 hours a day. So well down the road on that one. I don't know that I'll finish it today, but in the coming months working on that one. And it's all basically about how do you achieve the dream. People wake up to the dream of being an entrepreneur. Well, okay, now you had the dream. What do you do about it? How do you make it a reality?
Love that. That is a powerful topic. Both of them. I want to encourage you. There'll be a link below for anybody that's interested in that and wants to just quick, easy link. There'll be a link down below for the book.
Love it.
And then to get in touch with you as well. That's great. Powerful topic, because look, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that go work, people want to break the golden handcuffs, and then they go from the 9 to 5 to the 24/7. And being able to really zero in there and still have a lifestyle friendly business is a powerful topic, Robert.
Well, it is. And the other part is, do they really want it? Which is part, you don't want to discourage people, but I've dealt with people that didn't really want it, but got laid off and then woke up and said it's too early to retire, but they really didn't want it. They should also look at it and go, do I really want this before? And they see the path forward and can evaluate for themselves, because it's very painful if you don't want it to go through the experience.
Isn't that the truth? I doubled down on your statement right there.
I hear you.
See it too, and I double down, and it's that would be powerful. Do I really want this? I think I want it, but how do I know if I really want it? That's a powerful topic.
Was it really a lifelong dream to be an entrepreneur, or did it just happen to you because you got laid off?
Yeah. There's a number of that going around. Powerful subject, Robert. I appreciate it.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you so much for, I know you took a chunk out of your day. You crafted a chunk out of your day to actually be here and to be able to serve. And I want to celebrate you for that. So I know you mentioned one website. Is that the best way to reach out to you, or is there another way?
There's another one that's 636advisors.com, which is named after elements of my family history, which we can talk about that. I think it's even on the website if people are interested. But it has links to click and email me and learn more about my consulting business and so forth.
Fantastic. So I encourage you all to go check it out. do a little due diligence. Check it out. Reach out. Contact.
Absolutely. I love it.
Real power in conversations and reaching out to people. And the reason why I say that is Some people are just afraid to do it. So don't be scared. Reach out, have a
I'm
conversation.
here.
It's powerful
I'm here.
stuff.
I won't bite. I'm here. I'll listen.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I want to encourage you all listening and watching to do so. So again, Robert, thank you so much for the investment of your time. I celebrate you. I look forward to reading your book. And I mean that
Thank you,
sincerely.
Brad.
So I look
I
forward to it.
appreciate it very much. Thank you for the time.
Likewise, this is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast. We're business owners. This is fun, making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 figures. Look, there's a lot of talk about that on the internet, but of course, it's about the money, but it's not all about the money. It's also about sharing wisdom globally and creating impact to make the world a better place. There's unity in community. Thanks for joining us.